Edifice is the sophomore full-length album from Heresiarch, a Wellington, New Zealand-based black death metal band, and one that returns after several years beyond their debut. Now, this band, their start was a general sort of war metallic black death metal sound that it had formed around the time that Diocletian had also formed. So there was some crossover between members. There was a lot of shared experiences there, and if you go back through their discography, the general idea of their sound was always there. But if you go back through the compilation Incursions, which remasters all those early releases, I find that Whale Wolf is kind of the one that kind of got their early knack right, even though I believe some key members had changed out at that point. And once their debut hit in 2017 with Death Ordinance, that is naturally kind of where their sound arrived and began to develop. But specifically look to the side B of that album, and when they started to play with their rhythms and the swerve of everything in the second half of that album, then we get the precedence of how they developed their sound beyond that point. With that in mind, and if you're familiar with that album, we can take a look at what this record sounds like and cut into a song here and just get a sense of what's different this time around a little bit. So what are people doing with bestial death metal and war metal these days that is getting people's attention? Is typically I focus on rhythmic intensity and different modes and pacing that will keep people interested in a sound that is often a blurry, esoteric, and off-the-cuff sort of feeling approach, sort of almost a punkish approach for a lot of bands. And I think Heresiarch are a distinct outlier and nothing like a lot of what those bands are doing. This is a band that have focused more on pacing. So rather, there is still doom, death metal, grindcore, thrash, all that in their sound, and you'll feel that on the way through. This record takes its time, and it works out these more extended and volatile death metal songs that have periods of doom and gloom, and they really set the scene here on this record. And I think that's the important part, is that this isn't just a bash through that is just kill everything. It's not a nuke all the time, and it avoids the sameness of war metal through a dynamic of pace. The way that I would sort of equate that is the step that Embrace of Thorns took between Atonement Ritual and Praying for Absolution, where they began to lean a little bit more into death metal, is the point where their distinction arrived. And I think the same thing could be applicable for this second record with Heresiarch, as they bring in a little bit more death metal while still being a barrage, being an over-the-top band. There's an overall ominous and post-apocalyptic feeling to this record that is all over it, and not only because of the slower, doomed pacing of some of the songs, but the way that they don't just flatly juxtapose the abrupt with the slow and ominous, but they work between it in a way that is moldering and aggressive, and it doesn't just feel like a ton of strikes of lightning, but it feels like there's a full storm going on throughout this record, and it has almost a mournful touch to it. There's a tragedian affect to it that is grand in scale, and it just feels like something different. It feels like something bigger than they did before, and for me that really stood out this month as I was going through all the releases that I had for April. So this is a very high recommendation. I think it is definitely one of the best releases of April, and probably the best Heresiarch release to date. It feels absolutely serious. Feels like they're not just a war metal band at all. There's much more to it than that, and I couldn't praise it enough. And I'm looking forward to kind of getting the physical copy and reading the lyrics and sort of checking out what all that they have to say with it. It seems like an exceptional record that I think most people would connect with it if they gave it the time of day. Again, a very, very high recommendation for me. Go ahead and read my written review for more in-depth thoughts, and you can listen to it now. It released today, April 12th.